What? This is a highly dangerous world of Dragon Ball. Gue Xianren and He Xianren are my junior brothers. Wu Taidou is my uncle and master. Isn't it that I traveled more than 300 years earlier? However, fortunately, it comes with the essential golden finger for travelers, which can travel through the heavens, seek knowledge, and lead the earth to rise to the seventh universe. Tianlong, Fengyun, Jiuding Ji, Thunderbolt, Global High Martial Arts, Yang God, Immortal Sword, Covering the Sky, Swallowing the Starry Sky, Starry Transformation, Divine Tomb, Eternal Realm, Perfect. Keywords of the novel. The Way of the Dragon Ball asks to the heavens without a pop-up window. The Way of the Dragon Ball asks to the heavens complete collection download. The Way of the Dragon Ball asks to the heavens latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Apprenticeship Martial Arts Taidou. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Apprenticeship Martial Arts Taidou Earth, in the Southern Hemisphere. There is a natural valley surrounded by a continuous range of mountains. The dense forests and lush green leaves are everywhere filled with strong greenery and vibrant vitality. At first glance, it can be said that it is full of vitality, but the beautiful scenery of nature is fully displayed at this moment. At this moment, Wu Feng was lying at the entrance and exit of the valley, feeling particularly refreshing and comfortable on a green field, with a warm and cozy atmosphere. Facing the slightly dazzling sunlight, I stretched lazily and changed from lying on my side to lying flat, with my whole body sunken in a large shape in the grass. Quietly gazing at the clear and pure blue sky and white clouds that were just like childhood memories before crossing, Wu Feng slowly entered a state of no thought or thought, commonly known as, about to fall asleep. However, the sky did not meet people's wishes, and at this moment, a fierce howl containing anger came. Wu Feng, you're hiding here lazily sleeping again, little rabbit. Your skin is itching again, isn't it? Following the sound, a burly man was seen holding a solid iron rod that weighed at least a few hundred kilograms, resembling a wolf-toothed stick. Rushing from the valley, in just a few seconds, it had already crossed a distance of nearly 100 meters and arrived at Wu Feng. Without saying a word, it hit the ground not far from Wu Feng, who had not yet risen from the grass, heavily. Bang! Accompanied by a loud noise, a large pit about 1 meter deep and 1 meter wide appeared on the ground. In an instant, dust was flying and spreading all around, instantly splashing Wu Feng all over with soil and broken grass. Wu Feng, who was suddenly attacked, woke up in an instant and instinctively rolled up on the ground. His hands were in a fighting shape, and he looked at him haphazardly while shouting in surprise, Who dares to disturb my master's morning sleep? After speaking, before he could finish speaking, he saw Erbo Wushan standing on the side, holding a big stick horizontally in his right hand and constantly weighing the heart of his left hand, with a fierce and angry expression on his face. With a sudden contraction of his pupils, he instinctively swallowed his saliva, and then awkwardly chuckled. Without waiting for Erbo Wushan, who was about to attack him, Wu Feng immediately pulled out his leg and ran towards the valley where Erant was located. And while running, he shouted loudly, Help, kill someone. Auntie, come and help. Your man is going crazy again. You little bunny, stop running, still running. Stop it for me now. Alright, I won't beat you today. Stop it for me now. Following closely behind Wu Feng a few meters away, Wushan shouted in a somewhat speechless voice, both angry and amused. Really? Fake. Second uncle, you didn't lie to me. Wu Feng couldn't help but slow down a bit and turned to ask suspiciously towards Wushan. Really, I won't lie to you. Think about it yourself. From childhood to adulthood, when did your second uncle and I ever deceive you? Well, except for the time when your parents died when you were a child. Wushan saw Wu Feng's hesitant expression and said angrily. Alright, stop talking nonsense and come with me quickly. Your uncle, who has never met before, has finally returned from his travels today. Go recognize people and also see if you have the talent to cultivate advanced martial arts. Wu Shan grabbed Wu Feng with just a few words and easily lifted him up with just one arm extension. Without waiting for Wu Feng to express any opinions, he forcefully bent and extended his right leg, then accelerated instantly and ran like lightning to the large circular training ground in the center of the valley. And suddenly stopped at a distance of 1 meter from my elder brother Wu Taidou. After casually throwing Wu Feng and Wolf Fang's big stick, which were already almost catching, aside, he looked expressionlessly at Wu Taidou, his hands instantly clenching with a click sound. At the next moment, without any hint of words, suddenly, without warning, he hit Wu Taidou, who was standing in the center of the disc, with a fierce punch. Faced with a quick, urgent, and ruthless punch that seemed like a surprise attack, Wu Taidou's expression remained unmoved. Looking from afar, he saw his hands behind him, with his back down to average. At the critical moment, he appeared in front of him at lightning speed, firmly holding his huge fist, which was less than a foot away from his face. "Humph, after so many years without a trace and no news, can you finally be willing to come back?" After seeing that his full effort to sneak attack failed, Wu Shan snorted coldly and withdrew his fists, slightly mocking. "Xiao Shan, I'm very sorry about the situation of Xiaoyao's family, When Wu Taidou, who knew he was guilty and full of guilt, was about to explain something to his second brother, Wu Shan interrupted impatiently, "All right, you don't need to explain anything to me. If you really want to explain something, go tell your nephew." After speaking, Wu Shan sat beside him, showing a stunned and unbelievable expression. He raised his hand and pointed, then turned around and walked away without looking back. In just a few seconds, he disappeared from Wu Taidou's view. "Ah, child, what's your name?" After looking at the back of Wu Shan, who had quickly left without leaving a trace, Wu Taidou let out a faint sigh and then turned to look at Wu Feng and asked kindly. "Me. My name is Wu Feng." "Hello, uncle." "Hello, uncle, you're amazing. Can I talk to you?" Wu Feng, who had come to his senses, heard the question from the great master uncle he had never met before and answered without hesitation, affectionately calling him uncle without any hesitation. Not only that, Wu Feng also immediately expressed his intention to learn martial arts from uncle by going straight to the topic. However, Wu Taidou did not immediately pay attention to Wu Feng's request for martial arts practice, but instead focused on his name. "Wu Feng, right. Good name, good name. The pinnacle of martial arts, good, good, good. So from this moment on, you can practice martial arts with Uncle Me." After finishing speaking, he quickly walked towards his residence without saying a word as he groped towards Wu Feng. Only Wu Feng sat alone with a surprised and excited expression, murmuring to himself. It's moving, finally there's a bit of movement. It's really not easy. It has been over a year since I arrived in this world, and this mysterious progress bar that only Wu Feng himself can see, resembling a boss's blood vessel in a game, has moved forward without any warning at this moment. It should be noted that before this, Wu Feng had tried various methods without any movement. However, just as Wu Taidou had taken Wu Feng as his disciple, he suddenly jumped from 1% to 10%. And not only that, because Wu Feng can clearly see that the progress bar is still progressing slowly and firmly. At this moment, Wu Feng had ample reason to believe that as long as this progress was maintained, it would not be long before it could be fully filled, reaching 100%. At that time, Wu Feng can learn the general situation of his next journey through the world based on the information that will suddenly emerge in his mind. At that time, you can also leave this newly confirmed, extremely dangerous world of Dragon Ball, where Earth God can easily play with explosions. The next day, the air was clear and the sun was bright. In the Qilian Mountains where Wu Feng was located, there was a small peak with an altitude of about 400 to 500 meters. At this moment, Wu Taidou is leading Wu Feng through the most basic training, climbing the mountain non-stop, from the top to the foot, constantly tossing and turning until Wu Feng is exhausted before stopping. Due to the difficulty, on the first day of basic training, at the age of only 12, Wu Feng only completed one round trip before completely stopping. Finally, he was carried back to his residence at the foot of the mountain by Uncle Wu Taidou with one hand, and casually thrown into the bathtub that had already been adjusted for water temperature and was filled with a faint fragrance of flowers and plants. Completely ignoring Wu Feng's reasonable proposal to gradually train during this period, Wu Feng, who was powerless to resist, could only passively and silently endure the constant torment of his own uncle. It wasn't until after a period of time that Wu Feng felt a significant change in his physical fitness that he gradually transitioned from laziness and resistance to a sense of enjoyment, excitement, and a tendency towards self-abuse. On this day, after another round of exhaustion, Wu Feng, lying in the bathtub, looked at the progress bar suspended in front of him, moving forward a little more than yesterday. I couldn't help but grin happily, but due to the lack of strength in my whole body at this moment, not only did I not smile, but it also affected the pain nerves. Suddenly, Wu Feng's expression twisted and he couldn't help but cry and laugh. During his time practicing martial arts, although it was extremely cruel and a hellish pleasure, every time Wu Feng saw the progress bar steadily advancing with his exercise, and the increasingly strong physique he could clearly feel after each day, he would instantly feel that everything was worth it. Finally, his hard work and efforts were not in vain. It is worth mentioning that as time slowly passed, Wu Feng also gradually fell in love with this feeling of constantly becoming stronger. And in the subsequent practice, I will unconsciously work harder, give my all, and even exceed the training tasks assigned by Uncle Wu Taidou every day, striving to become stronger as soon as possible, so as to prepare adequately for the upcoming traversable new world. Because both the profound understanding of his past life and the knowledge, education, and experience he has received and understood in this life have made Wu Feng deeply understand a truth. That is, if you don't want to leave any regrets in your life, then make yourself strong enough until you are strong enough to save everything. Because weakness is the original sin of all things. Friendly reminder, this is a work of practicing calligraphy. The first instance of the heavenly dragon can be skipped, written in reverse order. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. 3 years. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. 3 years. It has to be said that the time of cultivation is always fleeting, time flies like a shuttle. Unconsciously, it has been 3 years since Wu Feng became a disciple of Wu Taidou. After 3 years of hard work and perseverance, Wu Feng finally lived up to expectations and officially achieved the goals and expectations set by Uncle in the early stages of his cultivation. On this day, due to the good habits he had developed over the past 3 years, Wu Feng woke up early to do the daily morning exercises he had been doing since his cultivation, in order to prepare for the next day's cultivation. After completing a set of familiar and unfamiliar movements, Wu Feng instinctively waved towards the door, but was quite surprised to find that his uncle did not appear in front of his house on time as usual. This discovery made Wu Feng feel very strange and surprised, because his uncle, who was still mysterious to him at this moment, had never been late or absent for 3 years. And just as Wu Feng was feeling surprised and ready to go to Uncle's residence to see what was going on, he ran out of the house and met Uncle Air, whom he had not seen in a long time. And quickly approaching, without stopping, it was a direct punch, an incredibly fast punch. If it were placed before Wu Feng had practiced, it would be impossible to take it down. Even though I couldn't even see it, at this moment, I could easily wave my hand to block it and firmly hold on to the seemingly heavy punch. Good kid, in just a few years of hard work, you have gained such strength. It seems that in no time, you will be able to comprehend the upper level of Qi in martial arts, but it is much stronger than your second uncle and me. Seeing his 8th level strength as if it were a surprise attack, Wu Feng easily blocked him. While Wu Xian was proud of Wu Feng, he couldn't help but sigh and feel sad in his heart. Hee, second uncle, you're flattering me. My nephew's current strength is only mediocre, and he's just talking about the past. He can just protect himself. After hearing Air Bo's words, Wu Feng stood up and replied with a slightly humble smile. Alright, don't pretend to be good in front of me. I don't know what you're like, kid. I'm afraid I'm already feeling proud at this moment. Upon seeing this, Wu Shan couldn't help but feel angry and said to Wu Feng, who pretended to be serious in front of him. After finishing speaking, without waiting for Wu Feng to say anything more, he spoke again and said, "You kid, were you in such a hurry to go out just now? Do you want to go to your uncle's residence?" "Hey, second uncle, how did you know I was going to find uncle?" "Oh, by the way, I haven't finished my cultivation today yet, it's almost too late. I have to leave first. Second uncle, goodbye." Wu Feng was first surprised by how second uncle knew he was going to find uncle, and then instinctively realized that he had not yet completed his cultivation today. He quickly said goodbye to second uncle. In an instant, as Wu Feng was about to rush towards the highest mountain, he was grabbed by his shoulder by the quick-eyed and agile second uncle. "What's your hurry, kid? Can you listen to someone finish speaking? I'm telling you, you don't need to go hiking today. Also, your uncle left overnight due to an urgent matter. Before leaving, he explained your exercise to me." "What, uncle has left? Are you in such a hurry? Can't you even tell me in time?" Wu Feng was first surprised, then a bit sad and lost, and his whole person became a bit dim. "Alright, kid, what kind of expression is that? It's not a life or death farewell. I won't see you again in the future. Your uncle said before leaving that it could be as short as 3 or 2 months, and as long as it could be as long as 6 months. Upon seeing this, Wu Shan thought to himself that he hadn't seen him for so long, and he hadn't seen how you were, so he rolled his eyes and chuckled angrily. Is that right? Alright, then uncle, let's start a new cultivation quickly. I can't wait any longer." Upon hearing this, Wu Feng's mood immediately changed from yin to qing, reigniting his high fighting spirit to welcome the next round of cultivation. "Alright, come with me. By the way, remember, from today on, your place of cultivation will be the circular training ground in the center of the valley." After running all the way, he took Wu Feng to the circular disc and Wu Shan said to Wu Feng, "Isn't this the place where the adults in the valley usually practice and practice?" Seeing this, Wu Feng asked Wu Shan with some uncertainty. "That's right, there's no need to doubt it, because your child, the next step of cultivation is to fight, keep fighting, understand?" Speaking, Wu Shan replied to Wu Feng with an unquestionable gaze and a serious expression. "I understand, but it's not me boasting, it's just that in the valley, except for you, it seems that no one else can exercise me at all. Even if the battle is forced, the second expert in the valley, Uncle Wu Yan, is still far behind. After all, the difference in body reaction speed is a bit significant, isn't it?" Wu Feng wrapped his right hand around the back of his head with a slightly proud expression, shyly saying, "You don't have to worry about this anymore. Your uncle has already thought about it for you. Oh, look back now. Your martial arts cousin has brought you something to help you with your next cultivation." Wu Shan's mouth slightly curled up and explained lightly. Upon hearing this, Wu Feng turned around and saw his martial arts cousin walking slowly with a huge turtle shell on his back. The sound of a heavy object landing echoed in front of Wu Feng, and in an instant, a lot of broken stones and smoke swirled around. "Feng cousin, here you are. I have brought you what you need. You don't need to thank me." He lifted the huge turtle shell behind him and dropped it in front and behind Wu Feng's face, and Wu Lin said with a hint of innocence. Upon hearing this, Wu Feng turned around stiffly to look at his second uncle. With a stiff smile on his face and a hint of luck in his heart, he asked, "Isn't this turtle shell meant for me to practice on my back?" "Of course not, how to practice behind your back," Wu Shan replied. "Really? Fortunately, I'll just say it." Wu Feng caressed his chest with a grateful expression and said, "You need to wear it. How can you stay fixed and exercise without wearing it? Alright, hurry up, don't procrastinate. Hurry up and put it on for today's practice." Before Wu Feng could finish celebrating, Wu Shan continued expressionlessly. In this moment, Wu Feng petrified. The next day, with a refreshing and sunny day, it was a good season for all things to recover. This day, Cousin Fei, let me tell you, stay on the front line and we'll see each other in the future. Wearing a massive turtle shell weighing several thousand pounds, Wu Feng spoke solemnly to his first opponent today. Ah! Is that so? But Uncle De once said, you're not allowed to leave your hands, as long as you're not disabled. After a slight doubt, Wu Xiaofei became determined again by thinking of Uncle De Shan's words. Afterwards, no matter what Wu Feng said, he refused to listen and directly punched and kicked Wu Feng. Faced with the slow punch in his eyes at this moment, Wu Feng instinctively wanted to dodge towards the side, and then turn to give him a kick, only to find that he had only moved a small step, just enough to avoid the slow punch. Before Wu Feng could feel a trace of happiness, Wu Xiaofei followed closely behind and hit Wu Feng directly with the next punch. Bang! Wu Feng fell to the ground in an instant. The next minute, Wu Feng struggled to get up again, just as he was about to say if he could stop hitting him in the face. The fists that followed immediately hit Wu Feng again, and the handsome face of his non-swollen partner fell to the ground again, unable to stand up. In confusion, Wu Xiaofei took a step forward and saw that Wu Feng was foaming at the mouth and staring at stars. Ah! Uncle Xian, come on, Cousin Feng is almost done. Startled by the tragic situation of Wu Feng, Wu Xiaofei hurriedly ran towards the location of Wu Xian, shouting with a slightly crying voice while running. Wu Feng, who had only a swollen head like a pig, was still lying in place with his eyes spinning in circles for a long time, a long time. Friendly reminder, this is a work of practicing calligraphy. The first instance of the heavenly dragon can be skipped, written in reverse order. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Preliminary Trial Crossing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Preliminary Trial Crossing. On this day, the sound of bang, 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 kept ringing in the center of the valley. From a distance, two figures can be seen constantly intertwining and moving, appearing and disappearing. And as time slowly passed, the two fighting figures grew faster and faster, until the people standing on the side, watching, could no longer see clearly where the two were with the naked eye. Only by seeing the remnants of the battle left by the two individuals during their engagement can one roughly understand the intense fighting situation between the two individuals within the disc. Dong, another round of punches and punches. After a hard encounter, the two figures at high speed instantly separated. Among them, Wu Feng stood still in place, while Wu Xian, who was unstable, took 3 steps back straight to stabilize his figure. Air bow, accepted, haha. After seeing Air bow stabilize his body, Wu Feng spoke with a hint of satisfaction. Okay, you kid, I'm not mistaken. He's a martial arts genius. In just 6 years, he has completely surpassed me, not much less than your uncle's talent back then. Looking at Wu Feng standing in front of him wearing a huge turtle shell, Wu Xian didn't pay attention to his proud expression, but rather exclaimed with great satisfaction. Alright, since Xiaofeng has already won, that's all for this stage of cultivation. Xiaofeng, go back and prepare. Starting from tomorrow, I will guide you in the cultivation of the upper level, Qi, in martial arts. Watching the battle over, Wu Taidou interrupted the usual shameless boasting session between the two and said calmly. Yes, I understand, uncle. After hearing uncle's words, Wu Feng did not engage in the usual mutual praise mode with Uncle Air anymore, and directly said firmly. Well, tomorrow morning at the highest peak of the Qilian Mountains, remember, if it's too late, you'll bear the consequences. After speaking, Wu Taidou stopped and turned around, walking slowly towards his residence. And in the moment after the lingering sound landed, it disappeared directly from Wu Feng's sight. Silent all night, the next morning, the sky was hazy and bright, with a continuous white cloud. On a clear day with a refreshing autumn breeze, the fiery red sun only revealed a sharp and bright red. At this moment, on the highest peak of the Qilian Mountains, Wu Feng was already here, listening to uncle's teachings, with a careful and serious expression, meticulously following Uncle's instructions to perform a series of strange actions. It wasn't until the sun rose above the horizon and revealed its full figure that the uncle stopped it. "Uncle, what should we do next and what should we do?" Wu Feng, who had stopped, looked at him in confusion. "Today, uncle," who seemed a bit out of tune, hesitated and asked. Faced with Wu Feng's confusion, Wu Taidou calmly replied, as his mood calmed down. I'm sorry, uncle, I was wrong." Wu Feng was initially stunned, but then he realized that he had learned to cultivate the qi that he had been longing for all day, which made him feel passionate and agitated for a moment. He unconsciously violated the great taboo of practicing martial arts: be cautious of arrogance and impatience. "Alright, this kind of thing is inevitable, and it's my fault. I shouldn't have told you about today's cultivation project in advance." "Well, okay, I won't say much more nonsense. Let's officially start now." Wu Taidou did not blame Wu Feng, but instead, after self-reflection, said calmly. Meanwhile Wu Feng took a gentle breath, restrained all his distractions, and officially began practicing qi according to the words spoken by the uncle at this moment. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, concentrate all mental consciousness, and slowly follow the steps taught by the uncle to feel the presence of qi in one's own physical cells. Gradually, as time slowly passed and the sun rose to the center, Wu Feng's consciousness finally broke through a layer of boundaries or constraints, feeling the qi described by uncle, his own qi. In an instant, after feeling the qi, Wu Feng instinctively mobilized it, but fortunately did not disappoint him. With a movement of Wu Feng's mind, the qi in his body cells immediately surged out. And the reaction outside was that Wu Feng, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly began to shine, and the white light like sheep-fat jade gradually completely enveloped Wu Feng. After a moment, Wu Feng, who had awakened from his profound insights, couldn't help but take a gentle breath of turbid air. The exhaled breath, like a sword of qi, rushed straight towards the rock wall, leaving a hole the size of a baby's index finger. "Did you succeed? Have you finally realized your anger?" At this moment, Wu Feng's anxiety and unease since learning that he had arrived at the Dragon Ball world finally eased and calmed down a bit. "Uncle, I succeeded." Carefully feeling his own body at this moment, feeling the abundant breath filled in the flesh cells, and with the blessing of qi, his body was like a rebirth, and Wu Feng was excited beyond words. "Well, that's good. So, in the next time, you should experience it well and strive to master every bit of strength in your body proficiently. Alright, that's all for today's cultivation." Wu Taidou saw that everything was as he had expected, his expression unchanged, and he secretly felt a burst of happiness in his heart. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, it has been 3 months since the day when Wu Feng understood qi. On this day, on the highest peak of the Qilian Mountains, 2 lightning-fast figures intermittently intertwined and collided. During this period, the sound of collisions kept ringing. Gradually, accompanied by the 2 people in battle, they continued to accelerate. For a moment, the entire peak was shrouded in remnants of a series of 2-person clashes. And often, before the previous shadow has completely dissipated, the next shadow comes one after another. A day slowly passed in the battle between the 2. And the battle finally came to a halt until one of them could no longer hold on. Hoo. Sweating profusely and with no dry spot on his body, Wu Feng collapsed on the ground, panting heavily. "I couldn't lift a single bit of strength up and down, and my whole body became limp and exhausted." Wu Feng, whose consciousness began to blur, finally felt that he could no longer be familiar and was lifted up, and then he couldn't hold on anymore and fell asleep. "When I woke up again, it had already been a whole day and a night." Wu Feng, who was awakened from hunger, had to personally run to the nearby mountain and randomly beat an unlucky wild boar. After cleaning it on the spot, he began the familiar barbecue process. Not long after, Wu Feng, who had had a full meal, went back to rest again. Before going to bed, she habitually glanced at the progress bar suspended in front of him, and suddenly realized that the progress bar, which was still 5% short, was actually full. This sudden discovery made Wu Feng completely lose his sleep. Because this represents that Wu Feng's long-awaited journey through time can finally begin. Without any hesitation, Wu Feng activated the traversal function directly according to the information described in his mind. It is worth mentioning that based on the information suddenly given by the golden finger in his mind, Wu Feng learned about the huge time flow difference between the time and space after crossing and the current time and space. So there's no need to worry about Wu Feng being discovered by family members. After carefully observing the surrounding environment and confirming that there's no one around, you can start your journey through time. In this way, accompanied by a hazy light shining from within Wu Feng's body, Wu Feng, who was originally sitting cross-legged in bed, evaporated out of thin air and disappeared. Friendly reminder, this is a work of practicing calligraphy. The first instance of the heavenly dragon can be skipped, written in reverse order. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The beginning of the heavenly dragon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The beginning of the heavenly dragon Dasong, Legu Mountain, now the new base of the Xiaoyao sect. On a rather steep peak, two young men and women dressed in white, facing each other with handsome faces, are standing tall at this moment. Junior sister, do you have to compete with me at this moment? It took a total of about 10 years to cultivate the 3 divine skills of the Xiaoyao sect, namely the Zio Wuxiang skill, the 8 wilderness and 6 harmonies only self-respecting skill, and the Baiming divine skill, all to their fullest potential. Wu Feng, who had already learned the eternal Changchun skill, couldn't help but feel a headache as he looked at his younger martial sister Wang Yuyan, who was eager to try and had been teaching him from childhood to adulthood. This TM seedling is a typical example of teaching crookedly. Sure enough, he wasn't the kind of person to be a teacher. Looking at his own junior sister's martial arts fanatic appearance and seeing a master, he always thought of fighting first before making a move. Wu Feng felt deeply guilty. If I had known this, I shouldn't have told her so many fantasy novels in the beginning. Unfortunately, it's too late to regret now and I can't correct it anymore. Ah. Thinking about the tumultuous days he has been living these past few years, Wu Feng suddenly wanted to slap himself hard and cry. Every once in a while, I was forced to fight in the name of sparring and seeking advice. It can be said that I have hardly ever had a peaceful day. Faced with a fight, I couldn't even fight because it was too hard, and I also felt heartbroken and reluctant to let go. The little princess of the Xiaoyao sect, who can't even curse, Wu Feng really has no good way. Finally, with my continuous cooperation and assistance, I have gained enough insight to break through the realm of seclusion. I thought I could live a peaceful and leisurely life for a while, but who knows, I don't know if it's because I've provided too much help or because of her strong talent. In less than 3 months, she has already broken through the situation. After spending some time consolidating her own realm, Wang Yuyan, a powerful and spirited Xiaoyao sect princess, quickly found Wu Feng, who was sleeping in the warm sunshine without hesitation, relying on her experience. Immediately after, without saying any nonsense, he launched a direct attack on Wu Feng, who seemed to be asleep and had no sense of it. Faced with the flames slapping him without even greeting, Wu Feng knew that his plan to pretend to sleep had been exposed. Under no other circumstances, at the critical moment, his entire body moved 10 meters away and successfully avoided the visible flame of his hand, which was about 3 zhang in size. Bomb! After a deafening roar, a huge palm print appeared in the place where Wu Feng was originally located, about 10 meters wide and 1 meter deep. And upon closer inspection, it still emits thick heat, like a super small meteorite crater. Seeing Wang Yuyan's exploratory blow miss, there was no surprise on her face. She quickly dodged and continued to attack Wu Feng, who was already standing. Each move was faster and more powerful, without any resemblance. It has to be said that after breaking through to the realm of unity between heaven and man, Wang Yuyan was able to integrate the abilities of various martial arts moves and reach a new high. From a distance, I could see that Wang Yuyan's move was completely effortless and imaginative. The previous move was still Wei Tua Palm from Shaolin Temple, and the next move is the joining finger of the Morong family. The connection between moves is unobstructed, perfect as if they were originally one. Faced with Wang Yuyan's completely irregular and traceless combos, Wu Feng was unable to break down his moves. He could only use his rogue style to support himself, combining the aura in the Dragon Ball with the internal energy in this area to form a 360-degree, all-round and no dead-angled vigorous energy shield. He forcefully took on a move that was stronger than the original move and far exceeded the maximum power of the original move. Hom. 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 The powerful energy collided with the scattered aftershocks, instantly creating a scene of flying sand and rocks, resembling a map bombardment. The villagers living not far from the foot of the mountain thought it was because the mountain god was angry, and they all knelt down to pray for the mountain god to calm down. This seemingly intense battle lasted from morning until evening, and finally came to an end. The reason why there was no battle for 3 days and 3 nights as usual was because Wang Yuyan felt tired and bored when she saw that no matter how much she stacked her power, she could not break the turtle shell of Wufeng, also known as Shi brother. She no longer wanted to do useless work. I have decided to go back to seclusion again and think carefully. I will create a more powerful ultimate move and then try it out with my senior brother. But Wang Yuyan, who was once again serious, said she didn't believe it anymore and couldn't break her senior brother's turtle shell. After all, this time I saw that I was only a little close to success, and with hard work, maybe I could succeed next time. And even if it doesn't succeed the next time, it doesn't matter. Anyway, you can also use your senior brother as a companion to familiarize yourself with the purpose of controlling your surging power. After taking the initiative to stop the competition, Wang Yuyan suddenly remembered that she had not eaten a delicious meal all day. So, without saying a word, he quickly used his lightness skills to charge towards the Xiaoyao sect cafeteria and flew away. Although, in fact, for Wang Yuyan at this moment, not eating or drinking for 10.5 days doesn't have much impact. However, Wang De, a gluttonous ghost, said that my lifelong pursuit of martial arts and food should not be let down. At this moment, looking at the graceful figure that was quickly moving away, Wu Feng shook his head slightly and covered his forehead with a bitter smile in his right hand, saying, "What a sin. There is no trace of the fairy sister she had in her childhood memories anymore, she has completely been raised crooked." After sighing, Wu Feng immediately stopped delaying and followed closely towards the cafeteria. It is worth mentioning that throughout this period, neither of the two masters paid attention and hurriedly returned. After staying for a while, they slowly walked away from Kong Guangling. In this way, time slowly passed in Wang Yuyan's once again closed-door creation of more powerful techniques, and in the blink of an eye, nearly 3 months had passed. At this moment, there were less than 3 days left until Kong Guangling mentioned the day when the ethereal fairy visited the Shaolin sweeping monk. On this day, Wang Yuyan, who had just passed the level, once again found Wu Feng and stood against him at the highest peak of Legu Mountain, hoping to try her painstakingly created new move to break his senior brother's turtle shell. "Junior sister, Xianyan, just treat me as a senior brother begging you, okay? Can you not come to me every now and then to compete with senior brother?" Wu Feng spoke helplessly. "No, and don't call me Xianyan again in the future." Wang Yuyan first declined with a positive tone, then followed by a rather embarrassed warning. After speaking, without waiting for Wu Feng to speak again, he immediately moved his hand and shouted, "Stop talking nonsense, look at the move, 9 Yang Radiant World Palm." As she spoke, Wang Yuyan's hands quickly danced along a mysterious trajectory, and in just an instant, they condensed into a 10-zhang-sized hand burning with blazing flames. Immediately after, as Wang Yuyan's thoughts moved, her slender jade palm gently pushed forward. Suddenly, the flame palm rushed towards Wu Feng, with a temperature of at least a few hundred degrees Celsius, like magma, tightly enveloping Wu Feng. Sigh. Upon seeing this, Wu Feng let out a sigh of helplessness and his heart moved with his thoughts. In an instant, he used his martial arts skills to support his invincible qi shield. In the next moment, a 3-zhang-sized mask emitting a jade-white light directly protected Wu Feng tightly without any gaps. Dong, in the moment of collision between the flame hand and the invincible vigorous qi shield, a loud noise exploded and echoed through the distance of 10 miles. The lingering sound lingered in my ears. During this period, under the extreme remnants of violent energy, the earth shook and mountains shook, landslides occurred, giant rocks shattered, and splattered in all directions. Apart from the absence of scorching magma and towering black smoke, a scene reminiscent of before a volcanic eruption. Speaking of which, it is fortunate that Legu Mountain is not a dead or active volcano, otherwise it would have to explode directly in the aftermath of the two people's battle. After seeing that the first move had failed, Wang Yuyan was not discouraged. Instead, she continued to work hard and repeatedly used the unique moves she had created one by one. For a moment, I saw two figures shimmering with red and white light flying over the top of the highest peak of Legu Mountain, about 100 meters high, intertwined with each other, coming and going. It is worth mentioning that the figure shining with a jade-white light basically stands still, while the figure shining with a fiery red light is constantly flashing and attacking around the jade-white figure. Perhaps in the previous second, a flame giant palm was struck from the front of Wu Feng, and in the next second, a golden fist was swung from above Wu Feng. Wang Yuyan, who was constantly changing direction and fiercely attacking, grew faster and faster with her movement speed and attack frequency. In the next moment, it caused a momentary mental confusion among the disciples of the Xiaoyao sect who were watching from afar, resulting in a visual error and misjudgment. At that moment, the disciples of the Xiaoyao sect felt that there were at least hundreds or thousands of Wang Yuyan besieging the leader Wu Feng from all directions at the same time. Friendly reminder, this is a work of practicing calligraphy. The first instance of the heavenly dragon can be skipped, written in reverse order. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Battle of Heaven and Man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The battle of heaven and man. Faced with the dense and impenetrable attacks from all directions, Wu Feng furrowed his brows slightly and secretly used some of his pure internal power to bless the invincible Gang Qi shield. And in the next moment, it erupted. Bomb after a loud bang, everything within a few miles remained silent. After a moment, after the large amount of black smoke that filled the sky completely dissipated and all the dust settled. The two of them had already determined the specific winner in just a moment. But in the moment when the two moves collided just now, Wu Feng unleashed a powerful aura, crushing and breaking Wang Yuyan's ultimate move like Guola's decay. Humph, it's failed again. Stinky senior brother, please wait for me. 30 years in the east and 30 years in the west, don't deceive the girl into poverty. Seeing her ultimate move once again shattered like a decadent gula, Wang Yuyan, who was indignant, once again uttered the harsh words that made Wu Feng headache and speechless. After speaking harshly, Wang Yuyan immediately planned to go back and have a big meal as usual to vent her anger, and then went back to seclusion to create even more powerful tricks. Looking at the little junior sister who was preparing to go back and have a big meal as usual, Wu Feng quickly and seriously fooled her in order to have a peaceful and leisurely time in the remaining time. Dao said, "Junior sister, you will never be able to defeat me by doing this, just because you lack experience in the mortal world and see too little. So if you want to make greater progress and create stronger skills, you still need to see other masters in the world and understand the natural things between heaven and earth. Is it like this?" Upon hearing this, Wang Yuyan stopped and asked with a skeptical expression on her face. Seeing Wu Feng, who seemed to be about to succeed in his deception, he quickly continued to work hard to deceive him. Dao said, "Of course, have you forgotten? Don't you remember the stories of the female heroes and heroines who shattered the void that my senior brother once told you? Have you learned from the natural Lang Fengyun, the barefoot Pang Gui, and the invincible master Lingdang Gui duel? I almost forgot. Thank you for reminding me, senior brother. Yu Yan is saying goodbye now. Goodbye. At this moment, Wang Yuyan, who only felt a sudden realization, pretended to express her gratitude and flew towards the foot of the mountain, but wanted to quickly verify whether the methods of the senioring women were effective. Hey, is it necessary to leave in such a hurry? This impatience hasn't changed at all. I still have something to say. Junior sister, don't forget the main business. Remember to visit the unnamed sweeping monk of Shaolin Temple in 3 days. After a slight sigh, Wu Feng used his internal strength to transmit messages for thousands of miles, reminding Wang Yuyan, who had already flown far away, not to forget the right thing. Got it. Wang Yuyan, who had already flown out of the territory of Legu Mountain and received the message, also returned with a 1,000-mile transmission. Legu Mountain, originally the place where the Tianlong chess game was placed 5 years ago, is now an open-air conference hall used by the Xiaoyao sect to discuss major events. So, have all the preliminary matters been properly arranged? At this moment, Wu Feng, sitting at the highest point of the conference hall, looked at the 8 people sitting on either side and asked. Master, please rest assured that everything that needs to be notified has been notified. And we guarantee that we will never be absent one by one, so please rest assured and wait and see. Although I don't understand why the head of my own family must gather famous figures from all over the 9 provinces at the Shaolin Temple in Songshan a month later to watch the competition between my junior martial uncle and Shaolin monks. However, Kong Guangling and other members of the original Han Valley 8 friends, who are now the 8 great hall masters of the Xiaoyao sect, still meticulously completed the tasks assigned by Wu Feng ahead of schedule. Wu Feng nodded in satisfaction and rewarded him, saying, great, thank you for your hard work. Let's go to the 3rd floor of the Wu Pavilion and collect a secret script later. By the way, I also happened to visit senior brother Su, who is currently serving as the caretaker and elder of the Xiaoyao sect's martial arts pavilion. Thank you for your contribution, master. We have received it generously, so we will bid farewell and go to pay our respects to the teacher. Kong Guangling and his group of 8 quickly stood up, expressing their gratitude and resignation to Wu Feng with excitement. Well, please go ahead and help me say hello to my senior brother. Seeing the eager expression of Kong Guangling's 8 people, Wu Feng smiled slightly and said. At the next moment, the 8 members of Kong Guangling, who were granted permission, first forced themselves to walk out of the conference hall step by step in a serious manner. Then, as they walked outside the hall, they all exerted their full strength to use the exclusive lightness skill of the current Xiaoyao sect, Lingbo Weibu. One by one, their figures were ethereal and they rushed straight towards the location of the martial arts pavilion, fearing that if they were one step too late, they would never see their master again. Wu Feng, who witnessed all of this happening, did not make fun or blame, but instead gave a forgiving smile. After all, no matter what, there is currently one of the strongest and perfectly seamless advanced martial arts books in the 3rd floor of the Wu Gu, the Wu Xiang Gong, which can return to the true level. As for saying goodbye to my master, it's not urgent. You can always pay respects at any time. Anyway, the person is there and won't run away. However, each true level secret book is unique, and according to the rules set by the new leader, except for the original spare parts left by Wu Gu, everything else needs to be destroyed to prevent leakage and being targeted. Therefore, Kong Guanling and others all wanted to rush to the Wu Pavilion as soon as possible to take away the book they had long admired. Even in the level of returning to reality, that book was still among the top, created by their own junior martial uncle's closed-door improvement, known as the Great Wuxian Gong. After all, whether it is due to the fact that the internal skills cultivated by Kong Guangling are all minor wuxiang skills, or due to the majestic and domineering appearance of his own junior martial uncle's divine skills that he has been exposed to in the sect. All of these factors determine the first inclination of the 8 members of Kong Guangling, and it is inevitable that they will prioritize the improvement of the Great Wuxian Gong from the small Wuxian Gong. In this way, after a fierce battle, Shi Qinglu, the 7th sister of the 8 friends of Han Valley, arrived at the Wu Pavilion ahead of her, relying on her delicate and lightweight body and being the only female advantage. Unfortunately, before Shi Qinglu could reach the third floor of the Wu Pavilion, Su Xinghe, who was sitting in the center of the first floor, gently waved his hand and immediately stopped him. He was also scolded loudly on the spot. Wu Ji's important place, you are in a hurry and ready to rush upstairs without reporting anything. What are you trying to do? What kind of behavior is it? Or are you saying that each wing has become hard, and you no longer consider me as a master? Su Xinghe used his profound and pure internal power to sweep Shi Qinglu and others out of the martial arts pavilion, and angrily shouted. Excuse me, teacher. We apologize for our mistake. The 8 friends of Hanggu, in great fear and anxiety, begged for mercy from the angry Su Xinghe. What should I say, you guys? Don't you know how important this place is? Don't you know that these 4 floors of the martial arts pavilion hold the divine skill scriptures created by your elders' hard work? Don't you know that what is stored here is related to the foundation of the eternal inheritance of the Xiaoyao sect? Su Xinghe was dignified and dignified, shouting loudly with righteous words. Alright, senior brother, there's no need to blame them so loudly. It's me who asked them to each collect a secret script for returning to the true level as a reward. There's no need to shout out what I'm saying to you so loudly, even using teleportation from thousands of miles is really enough. Alright, I'm afraid of you now. You requested 2 accompanying disciples before, and I agreed. That's all for now. That's it. Wu Feng transported 1,000 miles to spread the message and compromised with Su Xinghe, saying helplessly. Cough cough. Alright, let's talk about it. How many of you come to the martial arts pavilion and want to receive that secret book for returning true levels? After receiving the message from Wu Feng, Su Xinghe's expression suddenly changed from cloudy to sunny. After a slightly awkward cough, he asked kindly. Oh. Hanggu Baiyu, who witnessed the entire process of his master's face-changing performance, looked at Su Xinghe with a stunned expression. For a moment, he had no reaction and was still in a state of self-doubt, suspecting whether the master in front of him was fake. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Internal Power and Breath. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Internal Power and Breath. Master, what I really want is the Wuxian Gong. Can you exchange it for my disciple? Kong Guangling, holding a secret book with the words Tianlong Bayan written on the cover that he had never heard of before, carefully begged Su Xinghe to please him. Yes, master. My disciple also wants the great Wuxian Gong, not the 10,000 leaves flying flower that I haven't even heard of. As the only woman among the 8, Shi Qinglu said with a slightly coquettish tone. However, it was not of much use, and in the end, except for the youngest 8th brother, who was known as a theater fan, who achieved his wish and obtained the great Wuxian Gong, Su Xinghe ignored the appeals of other disciples and refused them all. In the next moment, looking at the disappointed expressions of the 7 disciples who had not fulfilled their wishes, Su Xinghe couldn't help but feel speechless in his heart. Angry and amused, Dao said, "You little brats, can I still harm you, master? Let me take a good look at all the secret scripts in your hands. In 15 minutes, if there is anyone else who wants to exchange with me, I will not accept it with this old face. I will also ask the leader to help you all obtain the great Wuxian Gong." All right. Seeing that the teacher had said so, all 8 people at the scene, except for the youngest, subconsciously focused on carefully reading the secret script in their hands. And this serious reading was really unstoppable, and all 7 of them were obsessed with it. Suddenly, I had forgotten the time and immersed myself wholeheartedly in the secret script in my hands. As I read it, I gradually got into a better state and couldn't help but take out my own eating utensils. On the spot, I practiced according to the content of the secret script. For a moment, in a large open space outside the Wuga gate, there were 7 people who were either playing the piano, playing chess, drawing, or reading, as if they were possessed by magic, and were obsessed with practicing in a state of forgetfulness. Leaving aside the fact that with the help of their own teachers, Hangu Baiyu has each obtained the most suitable cultivation method for themselves, and is currently practicing selflessly. Moreover, at this moment, Wu Feng was sitting cross-legged in a simple stone cave on the Legu mountain, practicing internal skills and preparing to break through the current realm. After a moment, accompanied by a crisp sound of stir-fried beans coming from all over Wu Feng's body, and the sound of flowing water, Wu Feng slowly opened his eyes. In an instant, the originally pitch-black secret room lit up like daylight. However, Wu Feng's cultivation of the eternal Changchun skill has broken through to the level of Xiaocheng, causing energy leakage and resulting in the phenomenon of emptiness turning white. Feeling that after breaking through the realm of internal skills once again, Wu Feng experienced a systemic cleansing of the marrow and pulse, and was overjoyed and delighted. Because this represents a period of rapid progress in the cultivation of qi in Wu Feng, which has fallen into a bottleneck due to the low potential of human blood vessels on Earth. It's like the period when Wu Feng just realized qi, and this is one of the important reasons why he actively devoted himself to cultivating internal skills. Moreover, even if not unexpected, the ability to enhance the essence of life and break through the boundaries of the body's bloodline is considered an excellent auxiliary cheat for the cultivation of Dragon Ball Qi. Wu Feng also knows how to cultivate internal skills, but relying solely on his internal strength to stay in Changchun forever is worth Wu Feng's effort in practicing. Not to mention the ability of internal power to detoxify, heal injuries, prolong life, and change qualifications, which can be considered as a panacea. After earnestly consolidating a new breakthrough in the realm of internal power, Wu Feng immediately began that Dragon Ball martial art that he had been diligently and persistently practicing since coming to this realm. Feeling the majestic aura in his own cells that was nearly 10 times stronger than before he arrived in this realm, Wu Feng couldn't help but smile. Although due to different rules in different worlds, the energy in Wu Feng's body that is capable of splitting mountains and crossing the sea cannot be released, it can be used to enhance his physical body for defense. And at the beginning, after a series of attempts, Wu Feng, who had just arrived, found that as long as the maximum attack limit did not exceed the limit of his body's qi tolerance, he could not cause effective damage to his body. This discovery made Wu Feng, who was restricted in his use of qi at the time, feel much more at ease. Because at that time, Wu Feng realized that at least he was absolutely very safe in this world, and besides defense, he was definitely invincible. No one in this world could break through. Even more so, after meeting some memorable celebrities and engaging in sparring and confrontation with them. Wu Feng then came to a conclusion that even if he couldn't use the breath in his body cells, he would only be able to compete with 1.5 people in the entire martial arts world who could keep up with his speed. And the reason why he is 1.5 people is because at that time, Wu Feng was not clear whether the founder of the Sunflower Treasure Scripture was also a person who existed at this time, and whether he was still as ancient as the Zaiyozi of the Xiaoyao sect. In summary, after preliminary confirmation and uneasy reconfirmation, Wu Feng immediately confirmed the fact that he had little resistance in this realm. After determining his almost invincible position, Wu Feng immediately began his preliminary plan and layout. Firstly, he found Ding Chuanxiu, who had established the Xingqiu sect in the western regions and was known for his domineering behavior. After a fierce battle like a test, he obtained enough data from Wu Feng, and immediately put in a serious effort to kill him with a single punch. With just one punch in a second, Wu Feng swiftly eradicated a group of poisonous creatures of all sizes from the Star sect, claiming to have boundless magical power. Well, except for the mischievous troublemaker, Xiao Azi, who had already been knocked unconscious by Wu Feng from the beginning. After defeating the famous Xingqiu sect in the western regions with his own efforts, Wu Feng no longer delayed. Carrying little Azi, who had been pretending to be pitiful since waking up, they arrived at the residence of Wuya on Legu Mountain together. In front of Su Xinghe, he cracked the Tianlong chess game in a few words. As for why it's just a straightforward statement, rather than personally playing a game and breaking it down, it's because Wu Feng stated that he is completely a novice among beginners in Go. It's too difficult for a strong person to expect themselves to crack the Tianlong chess game through playing chess. Besides, Wu Feng said that since he could persuade, deceive, Su Xinghe directly with his mouth, why bother with that matter? Of course, it is worth mentioning that at that time, Wu Feng held a red wooden coffin containing the body of Ding Chuanxiu in one hand. In this way, it can be said that the key points of Tianlong's chess game and the killing of Ding Chuanxiu's Wu Feng were revealed, and everything that happened next can be said to be logical. I apprenticed to Wuyazi and learned the top internal mental skills of the Xiaoyao sect. After reaching the limit of Wuyazi, I successfully took over the position of the leader of the Xiaoyao sect. It is worth mentioning that during this period, a series of minor incidents occurred, among which Wu Feng, with the consent of Wuyazi, brought Li Qingluo and the then little lowly Wang Yuyan back to the Xiaoyao sect. And also, in order to cultivate Xia Yozi's unique skill of eternal longevity Changchun skill, Wu Feng deliberately went to the Heavenly Mountain Piamiao Palace and the Western Xia Imperial Palace to retrieve all the martial arts of Xia Yozi. Of course, this also includes the 100 martial arts collected by Wuyazi and others. In addition, it is worth mentioning that on the day of the Wuyazi deadline, Wu Feng did not choose to accept its internal power, but let the young Wang Yuyan accept all of her internal strength. This was also one of the main reasons why Wang Yuyan, who had been in her prime for the next 2 to 8 years, made great strides and reached the top spot on the local rankings in a short period of time. The pure and profound internal power cultivated by Wuyazi for over 70 years, combined with the nearly 20 years of pure internal power cultivated by Wang Yuyan herself. He has created the youngest female great master to return to the true realm, comparable to a sweeping monk who has not been beaten by Wu Feng before making breakthroughs. Time flies in a hurry, and the time when Wu Feng has calculated his return is gradually getting closer. Wu Feng, who has been in this world for almost 10 years, always understands clearly that he will definitely not be able to delay. Otherwise, it's too late to return. If Uncle Wu Taidou and his team discover their secret, it wouldn't be wonderful. Although even if they discover it, as long as Wu Feng doesn't say it himself, Wu Taidou and his team will definitely not force him to ask. However, Wu Feng always believed that it was better to be cautious. After all, Dragon Ball World is not that simple. If it were discovered by the impulsive Angel Wes, it would be completely finished. So, in order to prevent any possibility of early leakage, Wu Feng must strictly follow his own ideas and not let anyone except himself know. Until one day Wu Feng felt that this secret was no longer important and didn't care whether it was exposed or not, he could tell Wu Taidou and them in detail. As the deadline for his return approached, Wu Feng did not rush to bid farewell to his relatives and friends in this world. Instead, he planned to make a series of preparations for his possible return in the future. For example, the 3 rankings of Heaven, Earth, and Man, which represented the top martial arts experts, were released 3 years ago. For example, Wang Yuyan, the next leader and guardian of the Xiaoyao sect who has been devoted to building and cultivating, is a young junior sister. For example, he has been secretly striving to promote the magnificent development of the martial arts world, striving to gradually transform this realm into a high-level martial arts, even divine martial arts, in the years following his departure. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. On the 3 rankings of Heaven, Earth, and Man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. On the 3 rankings of Heaven, Earth, and Man in the Song dynasty, there was a large restaurant called Uli Inn, in the city of Hangzhou. At this moment, the Uli Inn can be described as a sea of people, with martial arts practitioners traveling from all corners of the world. If you observe carefully, you can find that there are also many well-known martial arts heroes, wealthy merchants, tycoons, and other people mixed in. It can be said that all the people of the 3 religions and 9 streams have gathered together. Although the staff inside the inn are noisy, it is an orderly scene where everyone can find their corresponding position with great self-discipline. Of course, occasionally there will be 1 or 2 inexperienced young people who, with their passionate and righteous intentions, will engage in a reckless fight in the inn, carrying out so-called demonic and moral defense measures. However, often the young martyrs, martial arts villains, all of them, without exception, were captured on the spot by the experts sitting in the inn after the incident. Then, corresponding compensation and punishment shall be given based on the severity of the circumstances committed or caused. Although no one has died as a result so far, it still severely intimidated a group of martial arts practitioners. Just because when the Uli Inn, which has opened all over Kyushu 3 years ago, was just opened, it once acted like a warning to the monkeys by punishing the so-called hero, Hu Zhongtian from the Suzhou and Hangzhou areas and the notorious flower picker Yun Zhanghe from the martial arts world with quite humane punishments. Hu Zhongtian was about to strip off his clothes, seal all his acupoints and meridians, and hang them on the bustling street for 3 days and 3 nights. He also prepared for entering the Yendu area and thoughtfully fed some invigorating medicine, and locked them in a fully enclosed stone house for 10 days and 10 nights. So, under the trial and error of the two heroes, for the past 3 years, apart from some minor troubles caused by the slow transmission of ancient information in the early stage, it can be considered as a peaceful and indifferent time. Alright, I won't say much before, but now it's time for the annual release of the 3 rankings of heaven, earth, and man. Speaking of which, since the newly opened Uli Inn 3 years ago first released a ranking list of martial arts experts, it was initially ridiculed and mocked for its lack of credibility, and even attracted some malicious guests who were dissatisfied with its low ranking at the time, such as Yunzhong, to come and provoke. Although these evil guests were later sent to this place to take control, their skills improved greatly due to the new leader's passing of martial arts. They were all captured by Kong Guangling, one of the 8 disciples of Su Xinghe and the 8 friends of the Han Valley of the Xiaoyao sect, which played a deterrent role in killing chickens and warning monkeys. But that's all, it made people realize that this newly opened inn is not easy to provoke. There is still a lack of trust and disdain towards the rankings arranged within the inn, and even more so, some Jianghu residents have publicly issued statements, saying that the Uli Inn is just seeking attention and humiliation from the public. This unfavorable situation persisted until, with the passage of time, some young martial arts heroes who did not believe in evil and were not angry challenged the top-ranked or well-known or unknown figures on the list, and finally attracted the attention and a little recognition of a group of martial arts adults. However, what truly laid the foundation for the authenticity of this list was the challenge journey of Wang Yuyan, a graceful female hero who was charming, naturally beautiful, graceful, with skin like condensed fat, floating in white clothes, proficient in 100 martial arts schools, and known as the treasure trove of martial arts. That is to say, heavenly immortal, Wang Yuyan still holds the top spot on the land list so far. Here we are, finally here we are. Manager Kong, it's really not easy to wait for you to come out. At this moment, seeing Kong Guangling slowly approaching with 3 sealed scrolls in hand, as Kong Guangling's friend, the tycoon Xian Wanxian took the lead in teasing him. Ha, everyone, forgive me, forgive me. It's really a trivial matter. Well, before leaving, a distinguished guest suddenly arrived and had to go to socialize. I'm really sorry, I'm sorry. After a brief explanation, Kong Guangling immediately clasped his fists and bowed to the guests from all directions as a gesture of apology. Ha, it's okay, it's okay. We just waited a little longer. It's okay, as long as it doesn't delay the release of the list, everything is easy to say. Everyone in the martial arts world, is what I said still reasonable? At this moment, a law enforcement elder named, Bai Shijing, dressed in tattered clothes with 9 pockets sewn on them, representing the largest gang in the martial arts world today, the Beggars sect, stepped out of the crowd and shouted loudly. Ha, in reason, it should be like this, it should be like this. A group of martial arts heroes all agreed with each other, showing great respect. However, just as everyone was in agreement, a strange and sinister voice suddenly came. No, your remarks are all nonsense, just a group of echoers. I disdain to be with everyone. At this moment, a group of Jianghu heroes who felt humiliated immediately became furious and looked in the direction of the sound. It was discovered that it was none other than one of the 4 great generals of the Murong clan in Gusu, whose mouth was itching again. Mr. Bao, known as Mr. Bao San in the martial arts world, was different from him. My surname is Bao. You fart and can't spit out ivory in your mouth. The angry martial arts heroes, many of whom had a hot temper, immediately responded with insults. Some even pretended to reveal their personal weapons, looking as if they were ready to dismember Baudi into countless pieces in the next moment. All right, everyone, what are you trying to do? Didn't you forget where this is? Kong Guangling exerted his profound internal strength and let out a cold snort, reminding everyone who was on the verge of losing control of their guns. In the next moment, with a thunderous roar like a flat ground, all the martial arts heroes who were supposed to fight and kill suddenly fell silent. It was not until Master Xuanku, who represented Shaolin Temple, spoke up and made peace, giving everyone a step down, that the awkward situation was finally resolved. At the next moment, a group of martial arts heroes who followed the trend quickly withdrew their respective swords. For a moment, the Yulian was filled with the sound of everyone's weapons returning to their sheaths, which continued until a moment later, when everyone returned to their original positions before finally stopping. At the same time, Kong Guangling, who had achieved his goal, was no longer as pretentious as before. With a direct use of internal energy, one of the scrolls in hand is ejected and hung on a hook on the already prepared inner beam of the yin. In the next moment, under the influence of gravity, the scroll unfolded directly, revealing its contents. Just listening, someone eagerly muttered loudly, Su Murong Fu, the number 1 on the list, has learned from 100 martial arts schools and is proficient in all kinds of martial arts. The second most outstanding person on the list, claiming to be the sword god, is the last disciple of the wise sword sect. He once encountered a strange encounter somewhere in Changbai Mountain and practiced his sword edge skill. Jiuding Ji, ranked 3rd on the list, is a 5th-generation disciple of the Xiaoyao sect. Ranked 4th on the list of mysterious difficulties, he is the first Dharma Hall in Shaolin Temple and proficient in the 3rd of the 70.2 unique skills of Shaolin Temple. Ranked 108th on the list, he is the leader of the Qing Beggars sect, with profound sophistry and martial arts skills. In this way, time slowly flowed away with the serious reading of the martial arts heroes at this moment. After a moment, everyone finished reading and couldn't help but start the usual questioning session with doubts in their hearts. Manager Kong, Great Xia Kong, please declare in advance that it's not that I don't trust you, but rather that I don't want to express my doubts. At this moment, a wandering cultivator in the martial arts world couldn't help but speak up first. It's okay, it's not a problem. If you have any doubts, feel free to come through the channels, and I will definitely answer them one by one for you. Upon hearing this, Kong Guangling smiled nonchalantly and whispered softly. The young man casually clasped his fists and respectfully said, "Then, I apologize for my impoliteness and speak frankly. The younger generation has some doubts about Shu Jianshan, who ranks 2nd on the list. Because as far as the younger generation knows, the age of Shu Jianshan seems to be around 40 or 50 years old. Why are you still able to make it to the list of people?" End of this chapter. Chapter 8. In the 3 rankings of heaven, earth, and man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. In the 3 rankings of heaven, earth, and man. Oh, is that what you're wondering about? That's right, and it's also because I haven't clearly explained the conditions that people on the list need to meet, which may have caused some misunderstandings among you in your understanding. Upon hearing this, Kong Guangling pondered for a moment and said with a hint of enlightenment. Without waiting for everyone to ask specific questions about the minor misunderstanding, he continued to speak on his own. Dao said, "It seems that in the previous 2 rankings, the reason why there were only young people on the list made you subconsciously realize that there is an age limit for all 3 rankings." Wrong, everyone, wrong. The 3 lists of heaven, earth, and people arranged by Wei Lion only focus on the strength of the people on the list, not on their age. I see, thank you very much for your guidance, senior. I have been taught. Although the young man had other doubts in his mind, he also knew that he could no longer be Meng Lang, so he immediately stepped down to thank him. Well, it's okay. Since you have no doubts, then next, everyone, who else would like to ask a question? Let's come together. After lightly stroking his thick, pitch-black beard, Kong Guanling continued to ask boldly. After exchanging glances at each other, everyone secretly and tacitly elected the representative of the current largest gang, Bai Shijing. The next moment, Bai Shijing didn't show any affectation and stepped out of the crowd. He arched his hand and asked, Manager Kong, since ranking is based on strength, I don't know which faction the newly listed Xiaoyao sect is, and why its disciples can occupy so many spots on the list. Is this your common doubt? Anyway, it's okay to tell you to wait at this moment. Let's talk about the Xiaoyao sect. I can tell you that there is only one sentence, and that is, I am the fourth-generation chief disciple of the Xiaoyao sect. After hearing Bai Shijing's question, Kong Guangling's expression flickered for a moment, and his tone seemed to be filled with emotion, as if he were proud and spoke loudly. What? How could this be? How could it be? Actually that's right. Upon closer examination, perhaps only in this way can we explain why Yue Lion has such great capabilities. At the words, everyone was momentarily stunned, followed by disbelief, and then woke up as if from a dream. And then, after combining various pieces of information that I knew, I came up with an answer that I couldn't believe was actually the most realistic situation. Alright, due to the restrictions of the sect rules, I can only say so much about the matter of the Xiaoyao sect. Now, you all have other questions to ask. After seeing everyone recover from shock, Kong Guanling immediately said. I don't have it anymore, and even if I had it before, it's gone now. I don't have any doubts anymore. Younger generation, there's no more. Just as everyone in the lobby expressed no doubt, an untimely and somewhat sinister voice came to say Dao said, I have some doubts. I am not convinced. Why can his beggar's sect's full crown be on the list, but I cannot? In terms of martial arts, I am inferior to him in that aspect. Before Kong Guanling could answer this sudden and obvious nitpicking question, some people sneered at it. Dao said, oh my, who do I think I am? I turned out to be the third of the four great villains, the South China Sea crocodile god Yu. What do you disagree with? You fart, listen to me. I'm Yu Laoer. Upon hearing someone call him Yu Lao San, the South China Sea crocodile god became furious without considering anything else. Yes, 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 you are right. You have indeed been promoted to become the second son of Yu. Look at my memory, I have forgotten that now only you and Duan Yanqing are left among the four major villains. At this moment, a certain helmsman following Bai Shijing laughed recklessly upon hearing the words. Damn it, you little white-faced, come out to me, I will fight to the death with you. Yu Laoer, who was naturally slow or had a dull mind, realized that he had been fooled and shouted angrily. Alright, third brother, come back. Your account will be calculated with the beggar's sect later, and now we'll wait for Manager Kong to reveal the remaining two rankings. As his third brother or confidant was about to start a big fight, Duan Yanqing couldn't help but use his ventriloquism, his voice hoarse and stern. Oh, I got it, little white face. This time it's your grandmother's luck. I'll come find you to settle the accounts after it's over. In his lifetime, no one was afraid except for Yu Lao San, who was afraid of Duan Laoda. Upon hearing this, he immediately put away his weapon, crocodile scissor, and obediently returned to Duan Laoda's side. You. Before the threatened leader of the beggars' sect could finish speaking harshly, Kong Guanling immediately interrupted him. Dao said, all right, everyone, at least pay attention to the situation. Don't bring your personal grievances here. Now is the time to unveil the list. If there are any grievances that need to be resolved, you can wait until after the conference. And as long as you are not inside the ULI Inn, you can solve it as you like, please feel free to do so. That's all for my words. What do you think? I have no objections personally, and I am willing to abide by my senior's words. A young helmsman who received a signal from the law enforcement elder by Shijing clasped his fists and bowed, saying, I don't have any objections, just follow what Manager Kong said. Yu Lao San, who also received a warning from his own boss, said with a somewhat reluctant expression. Kong Guangling nodded slightly and was quite satisfied, saying, since everyone is willing to give me some thin noodles, let's do it for now. Next, let me first answer the question that Yu Lao just raised. The reason why the entire helmsman was able to rank last on the list was personally designated by the third leader of our sect. As for the specific reason, I am not very clear about my dissatisfaction with you, so I can only speculate that there may be another mystery, right? This. Upon hearing this, everyone looked at each other for a moment, unsure of what to say, and the atmosphere became eerie. Seeing this, Kong Guangling had no choice but to continue saying, everyone, it's useless to think too much. Next, let's take a look at the 70.2 innate experts listed on the list. As he spoke, Kong Guangling threw the scroll in his right hand towards the sky, and suddenly, the scroll representing the land list rolled down and revealed its contents. Ranked first on the earth list, the Tian Shan Tong Lao Wu Xingyun, on the ethereal peak, is the leader of the Lingjiu Palace. Ranked second on the list, Empress Dowager Li Qiushui of the Western Xia dynasty was the head of the Western Xia first-class hall. The third leader of the beggars sect on the list, Qiao Feng, is exceptionally talented and brave in battle. He is actually a born god of war. Ranked sixth on the land list, the great Wuming King Jimozi, the Tibetan national teacher, and the leader of the Nyingma sect of the Western region's esoteric Buddhism. Ranked seventh on the land list, Master Ku Rong, the holy monk of Dali, and former abbot of Tianlong Temple. Eighth on the list, Su Xinghe, the first disciple of the 3 generations of the Shaoyao sect. Ranked 16th on the land list, Duan Yanqing, the first of the 4 major villains, was the former crown prince of Dali. The 23rd place on the list, Shaolin abbot Xian Ci, tiger subduing Arhat, on the 27th place list, Huang Mei monk from the lower courtyard of Damo in Putian, Fujian. The 33rd place on the list, the abbot of Qingliang Temple on Mount Wutai, the man on the holy mountain, Arhat, the dragon subduing man. 36 on the list, Duan Jingming, Emperor Baoding of Dali. From the 37th to the 72nd place rankings are all vacant for selection. Please stay tuned. It has to be said that the reading time is always incredibly fast. In less than a moment, everyone finished reading and began to discuss with each other in a low voice, expressing their own opinions. Kong Guangling, who watched as the guests were all discussing in a low voice without anyone asking a question, had to speak out loud. Dao said, everyone, if you have any questions about the ranking on the list, you can now raise them. Upon hearing this, everyone had to stop discussing the issue and turn to look at Kong Guangling in unison. After hesitating for several breaths collectively, they spoke one by one. Dao said, we have no major objections or doubts about the ranking of the place list, but we are puzzled why we haven't seen the former top-ranked, heavenly immortal, Wang Vexia on the place list. Well, is there only one question? Do you have any questions about anyone except for Wang Vexia? This really makes me wonder whether to cry or laugh. Hey, anyway, it's a big loss. I made so much preparation and memorized so much information in advance for the ranking, but I didn't expect epsilon equals omicron asterisk. Alas, the world is going downhill, and people's hearts are not ancient. Seeing that everyone was completely indifferent to any information about others on the list, and only focused on his own beautiful little martial uncle, Kong Guangling couldn't help but feel a bit heartbroken, shaking his head and sighing repeatedly. When everyone saw his appearance, they immediately burst into laughter due to his demeanor and movements, creating a harmonious and joyful scene. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Under the 3 rankings of heaven, earth, and man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Under the three rankings of heaven, earth, and man, haha, Manager Kong, don't blame me. It's not that we intentionally did this, but rather that the characters listed on the list are all well-known figures in the martial arts world. And they all have their own achievements in various competitions, which can be said to be visible and well-known to everyone. So, except for a few who may have some doubts, we have no objections to the rest at this moment. Zhao Qiansun, an older generation figure who seemed to have retired from the martial arts world for a long time, explained in a loud voice. Yes, but Senior Zhao expressed our feelings. We do not have much objection to the ranking on the list. After all, more than 2 years ago, the rising journey of the heavenly immortal, Wang Vexia personally proved everything for us, didn't she? A passionate young man who had just entered the martial arts world added with admiration for the heavenly immortal on his face. Dude. Yes. Isn't it? It's completely fine. A group of martial artists from all over Kyushu thought of the ethereal and immortal figure in their hearts, and couldn't help but nod in agreement from the bottom of their hearts. Anyway, since that's the case, I won't delay it. It can be considered the beauty of becoming a person. Your only doubt, I will wait for you to answer. After a helpless sigh, Kong Guangling raised his left hand and threw the last scroll representing the heavenly list to the designated position. In the next second, the scroll quickly rolled down with the flow, and just a few breaths later, all the content on the heavenly list was presented. When everyone saw this, they didn't hesitate to ask their doubts. Didn't they mention the whereabouts of Wang Vexia and Wang Xianzi? Why did the last list suddenly open? Can it be said that Wang Vexia has made a breakthrough again, reaching a level comparable to that of her predecessors in ranking on the heavenly list? But how could this be possible? Wang Vexia, how old is she? She's only a few years old. So, with a hint of hesitation in their hearts, everyone turned directly to the heavenly list, which records the highest honor in the martial arts world. And at the next moment, immediately read the passage. Ranked first on the heavenly list, during the spring and autumn period, the white ape passed the sword with the posture of a celestial being, wielding the baton alone and breaking through the Yujia 3000. Ranked second in the heavenly ranking, during the Southern Liang dynasty, Buddhism began to be transmitted, and the essence of the Book of Changes was washed away. Vajra did not break, and Shakyamuni Bodhisattva. Ranked third in the heavenly ranking, during the Tang dynasty, he was known as a immortal in poetry and swordsmanship, and achieved great martial arts skills. He was also a layman in Qinglian. Ranked fourth on the heavenly list, during the Song dynasty, he was the founder of Xiaoyao, who lived forever and never grew old in Changchun. Ranked fifth on the heavenly ranking, the leader of Xiaoyao, a heavenly god descended from the world, the peak of martial arts, and an unparalleled celestial being. Ranked sixth on the heavenly ranking, Shaolin of Mount Song, the protector of scriptures, with 3 feet of vigorous energy, a sweeping monk. Ranked seventh on the heavenly list, the carefree elder, transformed from heaven and humanity, blending with 100 schools of thought, ethereal like an immortal. The 8th to 30th positions on the heavenly list are currently vacant and awaiting confirmation. Less than a moment after the list was revealed, everyone had already read it, only because they had already seen it twice before. Therefore, for the senior executives who had already passed away from the past, they just glanced at them in a hurry and looked directly at the 5th one, so they quickly finished browsing. Is it still like this? There hasn't been any change except for the addition of one, but why does this additional person seem a bit familiar to him according to his description? After reading, everyone murmured to themselves with 3 parts of doubt, 3 parts of doubt, 3 parts of disbelief, and a complex emotion of being unable to speak or explain. For a moment, the once bustling Uli unconsciously fell silent. But everyone was shocked and speechless by the fact they had thought of, silently digesting it at this moment to ease the unparalleled shock. Until a small fan of the heavenly immortal king female hero, a devoted fan, excitedly spoke up and asked Kong Guangling for confirmation, it was only then that the eerie silence was broken. Senior Kong, the newly added 7th on the heavenly list should be the ethereal heavenly immortal who was expelled from the earth list, right? Yes, it must be like this, because that explains why there is no heavenly immortal Wang Vexia on the list. Without waiting for Kong Guangling to answer, the little fangirl excitedly asked herself and answered. Yes, little girl, you guessed right. The new one on the list is Wang Tianxian, who has become an unparalleled master and a master in the realm of harmony between heaven and man. She is also what you call Wang Vexia. Speaking of which, to be honest, Uncle Wang also successfully advanced and broke through with the help of our sex leader and martial arts master not long ago. Kong Guangling laughed back with great pride, and his tone was very affirmative. Yeah. I knew it, and it's not bad that she's my #1 idol, goddess. The little fangirl was as happy as if she was the person who made it to the sky list, extremely happy. However, everything has two opposing sides. There are those who are wholeheartedly willing to believe, and there are also those who do not believe and those who are skeptical. Well, at the scene, a respected martial arts elder named Su Chongshao immediately raised doubts. Manager Kong, this is really a bit scary and shocking. It's like being the first on the heavenly list. It's unbelievable. It's just like a mythological biography. I really can't believe it for a while, said the speaker. Elder Su, Senior Su, what do you mean? Are you trying to say that the list arranged by my Xiaoyao sect is suspected of deliberately fabricating facts? Su Chongshao quickly waved his hand to deny and explained softly, No, I didn't mean that. It's just that if I can't witness it with my own eyes, it's really hard to convince people, isn't it? Anyway, no wonder you didn't believe it. Even when I first received the notification, I couldn't believe it. Until then, when I personally went up the mountain to pay my respects, I saw that every move and form played by Little Master contained a large amount of heaven and earth elemental energy shadows, and there was no further doubt. It is impossible to fake the great power that triggers changes in the celestial phenomena with every move and gesture. Kong Guangling slowly explained what he had seen and heard at the time, as if empathetic. After speaking, the words had just finished, and before everyone could question them again, a groundbreaking news was thrown out, loudly saying. Dao said, Ladies and gentlemen, I know that no matter how realistic and extravagant my words may be, I will not believe what I should believe or not. After all, seeing is believing, hearing is believing, isn't it? Therefore, I won't say anything more at this moment. Let's leave everything until the 9th day of next month, which is the Double Ninth Festival. At that time, the ethereal fairy of the Wuxiao sect will visit the Shaolin unknown sweeping god monk and discuss scriptures and teachings. I believe everything will be clear then. Alright, I have already said everything that needs to be said at this conference. At this point, I declare the official end of the Hangzhou branch of the 3 rankings of heaven, earth, and man. So, goodbye, everyone. I'll take the lead in bidding farewell and I won't have to give it away. After speaking, as soon as the words fell, Kong Guangling leaped straight into the air towards the empty hollow roof. After a few attempts, his figure quickly disappeared into the sight of a group of people who couldn't react. Well, this Kong Guangling, is that so? We're not such fierce beasts, it's necessary to run so fast every time. Is that so fast? At the next moment, among the people who had regained their senses, Su Chongshao, the highest-ranking martial arts elder, shook his head slightly and cursed with a smile. Yeah, Manager Kong is really serious. I haven't even had a chance to inquire about the specific matters regarding the visit of the ethereal fairy to our temple's floor-sweeping monk. The representative of Shaolin Temple attending this conference, Master Xian, followed closely behind with helplessness. Isn't that right? Kong Guangling, this old guy, is really a waste of time making friends. After quietly releasing a groundbreaking news, without elaborating, he hurriedly ran away. Really, I don't know where the specific location for the visit will be, and whether we can have the opportunity to witness it and other key issues. Hey, I made friends carelessly, what a mistake. The famous tycoon in the Jiangnan area, Mr. Qian, walked slowly towards the interior of the Uli Inn while shaking his head and sighing. After seeing 3 heavyweight figures leave one after another, a group of people in the inn may come from distant and remote mountainous areas. The journey is long and it is not advisable for them to stay away for a long time. Or it could simply represent the various forces obtaining first-hand information, and the influential figures who hold important positions and high positions immediately stop staying for a long time and follow closely behind. After only a short while of effort, the originally bustling Uli Inn was finally completed. Immediately it became cold and desolate, except for a few scattered regulars who lived in the local area. Only a few scattered wandering wanderers were left, chattering incessantly about the newly released rankings and the big news that Kong Guangling finally threw out. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Gathering of Wind and Clouds. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Gathering of Wind and Clouds. Time is like light, and youth is fleeting. In the blink of an eye, on the 9th day of the 9th lunar month, the double 9th festival has arrived. On this day, people used to climb high and admire the chrysanthemums in the garden. But this time, it was vastly different. On this day, talented and beautiful people from all over Kyushu, famous knights, Jianhu veterans, wealthy merchants, high-ranking officials and nobles, as well as the royal family and nobles, all gathered at Shaolin Temple on Mount Song without exception. Just to witness the legendary battle between heaven and man that has been circulating in the martial arts world for a long time, and to see if it is truly as described in the storybook. Once we hand it over, it will be earth-shattering, with mountains and earth-shattering, and the sun and moon shining without light. Of course, this is just a part of the thoughts of those who watch the excitement, and more importantly, they want to seek advice from 2 heavenly beings on whether there is a way to immortality. Leaving aside the thoughts of the people from all over Kyushu today, it can be said that before this, a series of interesting martial arts events had occurred. For example, recently, in the Jianhu Daily published by Uli Inn, it was reported that the largest gang in the martial arts world occurred in the event of Xingzilan Wei forcing his own gang leader to abdicate, revealing the identity of the beggar's sect leader, and the subsequent journey of seeking revenge. For example, the journey of Duanyu, the son of Prince Duan of Dali, to seek love and recognize his younger sister, as well as the story that must be told between the renowned virtuous monk, Shaolin abbot Xuanxi, and Yi Ernyang, one of the 4 evil men. Of course, more importantly, what occupies the entire space is the Baichuan College, which was established with the support of the Xiaoyao School in various regions of Kyushu and truly upholds the concept and doctrine of education without discrimination. Unlike previous years when the venue of the Songshan Shaolin Temple during the Double Ninth Festival was desolate, this year's event was packed with people, leaving no extra space. Except for the empty space reserved in the center of the venue for 2 celestial beings to discuss scriptures and teachings. 1 hour later, when the scorching sun in the sky had reached the center position, neither of the 2 agreed upon celestial beings had arrived. However, fortunately, although everyone had already become impatient and restless about this. However, no one ever complained. And the reason for this is not that no one really dares to complain, but rather that they have enough status and qualified people know some insider information, so for their own consideration, they don't want to be the leading bird. Half a quarter of an hour later, just as the 2 of them, who had been late for a long time, became increasingly impatient and were about to explode. Suddenly, a cool breeze of no size came blowing towards us, instantly enveloping everyone on the field, bringing a touch of coolness and comfort to the hot and dry crowd. Immediately after, without waiting for everyone to wonder where this dry and hot season came from, a slight cool breeze blew in. The sky, which was originally scorching with the sun and cloudless for thousands of miles, suddenly became windy and cloudy, with dark clouds rapidly converging from all directions, covering up the dazzling sunlight. The sky instantly became dull and the breeze gradually strengthened. In no time, the crowd couldn't open their eyes and covered their faces with their hands. After a quarter of an hour, his skills were slightly weaker and he was already blown upside down, unable to rise up on his own. The next moment, as the strong wind grew stronger and was about to blow people away, a Buddhist sound came along, mixed with profound internal strength, and quickly dissipated the strong wind. Amitabha Buddha, female benefactor, you have arrived soon. Why don't you show up and see me? Old monk, there's no need to show up. The place here is too small to open up. I'll wait for you on the highest peak of Mount Song, Wang Yuyan replied with a bold voice. After speaking, take a step towards the highest peak of the 72 peaks of Mount Song and leap away. At the same time, it was only at this moment that the crowd vaguely saw the immortal appearance of the famous ethereal fairy in the martial arts world again. Amitabha Buddha, the words of the female benefactor, great kindness. Yulua saw an old monk dressed in linen clothes with a kind face. He gently put down the broom in his hand and jumped up. In just a few moments, he completely disappeared in front of everyone. It attracted a group of martial arts heroes, who were all staring, dumbfounded, and speechless. Among them, there were originally some martial arts masters who thought they had good likeness skills, but their hearts were deeply affected. They recalled their past boastful words in their minds and wished to find a hole to burrow into and never come out again, saving themselves from embarrassment. At this moment, although a group of martial arts masters who claimed to have top-notch likeness skills were deeply affected, they felt ashamed. However, they still each used their best likeness skills and rushed towards the location where the two fought, each competing to avoid missing out on the unprecedented battle that had never happened in 1,000 years. Meanwhile, just as the martial arts masters rushed towards the place where the two fought, on the highest peak of Mount Song, Wang Yuyan had already made contact with the newly arrived unnamed divine monk. From a distance, everyone could see that with a deafening roar, the large cloud that had originally surrounded the summit was instantly dispersed. The towering peak was exposed, along with the huge energy aftershocks that surged out as the two celestial beings clashed and collided. The energy waves of half red and half gold seemed to envelop the entire sky of Mount Song. Dong! Boom! As time passed by second, the two people on the summit launched their moves, becoming increasingly urgent and heavy. From the initial exploratory attack, almost every move now is a full blow. After several anxieties in the battle, the two of them officially began their respective amplification moves. Let a group of people in the venue, whether they are observing the battle from afar or those who do not know martial arts, or those from the lower echelons of the martial arts world, feel as if they are watching the battle between immortals and Buddhas. Just because the huge golden Buddha statue that appears every now and then, along with the fiery red sun that appears at the same time, is dazzling enough to be ignored. Half a quarter of an hour later, after another fierce battle and rapid collision, Wang Yuyan and the nameless monk, who had not yet determined the winner, each drifted to the top of a huge peak. While holding a confrontation in the air, he silently adjusted his breath. Old monk, multiple battles have no intention. Let's just use one move to determine the winner. Amitabha Buddha, as the female benefactor wishes, please. The unnamed monk thought to himself that this battle has been delayed long enough and should have met the requirements of the martial arts master. Okay, then, old monk, please accept my strongest new move. Be careful. After speaking, just as the words fell, Wang Yuyan's mind moved and she immediately applied her newly created move. Looking from afar, I could only see Wang Yuyan surrounded by strong winds and surging clouds. The energy of the five elements attribute, which were drifting between heaven and earth, surged and converged. With Wang Yuyan's gestures and the traction of her spiritual power, it quickly condensed into a Tenjiang-sized energy pattern of the intersection of the five elements. Like a continuously rotating grinding wheel of the five elements, it pressed and covered the nameless monk horizontally. Here, the intersection of heaven and humanity, the combination of the two rituals, and the unification of Tai Chi, how can we? Who? It turns out that the female benefactor has reached the extreme of heaven and humanity, and is only one step away from the Bodhisattva realm. Amitabha Buddha, there's no need to compete in this martial arts battle anymore. I'll give up and ask the female benefactor to stop, right after being taken aback, the unnamed monk recognized himself as Buddha-like. Wang Yuyan looked disappointed and said, "Hey, it's boring, it's really boring. Old monk, I still have deep expectations for you." Although Wang Yuyan was very disappointed with the nameless sweeping monk at this moment. However, it did not prevent Wang Yuyan from moving her mind in the next moment, transferring the ultimate move that had previously locked onto the nameless monk to a desolate and crowded mountain peak on her left. In the next moment, a mountain at an altitude of at least 500 to 600 meters, which had suffered from an unforeseeable disaster, exploded with a loud bang, causing rocks to splash and roll down. After a moment, as the dense dust gradually dissipated, a small mountain range that was almost half shorter than before appeared in everyone's sight. Gudong. At this moment, the sound of swallowing saliva echoed incessantly. But all the martial arts masters, without exception, were deeply shocked by the scene before them. It is worth mentioning that thanks to a group of martial arts masters, they were so shocked that it was indescribable and left speechless. The grand venue, which was originally bustling with discussions and bustling crowds, immediately became audible and quiet. End of this chapter.